President Ibrahim Traoré had just taken his first bite of dinner when something strange stirred inside him. At first, it was a burning in his throat, then a tightness in his chest. His fork fell. Everyone around the table froze. A cold silence swept across the presidential dining hall. He had been poisoned. But by whom? Was it the guards, the chefs, or someone even closer? The room, normally calm and formal, had started like any other evening. Traoré had finally sat down to eat after a long day of meetings. Around him were his trusted advisors. As usual, the conversation was focused on the country's progress. "We have the water project inauguration in the north this week," said Economy Minister Kalabali, flipping through his notes. "The villagers are eager to welcome you." Traoré nodded, taking a bite of his favourite dish, fried chicken and rice. "This is project number 32 out of the 50 we promised," he said, raising his fork again. "To meet our targets, we must—" He never finished the sentence. Suddenly the burning returned, sharper now. His chest felt heavy, his vision blurred. His hands shook as he reached for his glass, but he couldn't hold it. The glass toppled over, water spilling across the table. "Mr. President," Interior Minister Traoré asked urgently, "are you all right?" But Traoré couldn't respond. Then chaos erupted. Traoré stood, shouting, "The president's been poisoned! Get a doctor!" Guards rushed in. Ministers panicked. The room spun around Traoré as he fought to stay conscious. "Seal the palace," barked Security Chief Ouedraogo. "No one leaves, no one enters. This is an inside job." Ouedraogo ran to the president's side. Traoré was shaking, struggling to breathe. "Stay with us, Mr. President. Help is coming," he whispered. Minutes later, the palace medical team arrived. Dr. Zongo examined the president and felt his pulse. His face tensed. "This is chemical poisoning," he announced. "We need to transfer him to the hospital immediately." As Traoré lost consciousness, he faintly heard the doctor say, "The poison is spreading fast. We're running out of time." At the Central Military Hospital in Ouagadougou, a special ward was locked down under tight security. Armed soldiers filled the hallways. Inside, President Traoré was hooked up to machines, his body in a fragile state between life and death. Outside the hospital, crowds were forming. People gathered to pray. On social media, the hashtag #PrayForTraoré was spreading like wildfire. Some blamed foreign powers. They feared his leadership, said one protester. Others pointed fingers at internal enemies. The real threat is inside the palace. As the nation waited breathlessly, 3 of the president's top officials stood together in the corridor: Security Chief Ouedraogo, Interior Minister Traoré, and Prime Minister Diallo. "What's the latest?" Diallo asked, his face pale with concern. "Still critical, but stable," replied Dr. Zongo, holding up a medical report. "This wasn't the work of amateurs. The poison is advanced, something only a professional could have made. This was a planned attack," Ouedraogo said grimly, "and it came from inside. Someone close to him. Someone at that dinner table." "We need a full investigation," said Diallo, "but we must avoid panic." "Still, we can't ignore the truth," said Traoré. "Every person in that palace is a suspect, from chefs to ministers, even us." Silence fell. The 3 men looked at one another. The air between them felt heavier than ever. "So who leads the investigation?" Diallo asked. "Palace security? Intelligence?" Ouedraogo shook his head. "We can't trust anyone on the inside. Too many divided loyalties." "Then who?" In a small house on the outskirts of Ouagadougou, a 63-year-old man was listening to the radio. His name was Maurice Sankara, the former head of intelligence. Once a powerful figure, he'd been dismissed by Traoré 3 years earlier, accused of siding with the French and sentenced to house arrest. Though some restrictions had eased, he remained under quiet surveillance. A news announcer confirmed what Sankara already suspected. The president had been poisoned. His condition was critical. The phone rang. "Be ready," said a voice on the other end. "They're going to call you." "Who?" "The people in the palace." Sankara chuckled bitterly. "You must be joking. Traoré sees me as a traitor." "Exactly. And right now, he doesn't trust anyone else. If you want him alive, it means you have no part in this. That's all he needs." The next morning, a knock came at the door. 2 black SUVs from the presidential convoy waited outside. A young officer stood at the gate. "Mr. Sankara, you're needed." Sankara didn't resist. He dressed quickly and joined the convoy. They drove straight to the hospital. In the corridor, Diallo, Cabaret and Ouedraogo were waiting. All 3 looked uneasy. "Thank you for coming," said Diallo, extending his hand. Sankara ignored it. "Did I have a choice? I was accused of betrayal. Now suddenly, you need me." "The country needs you," said Cabaret. "The president was attacked, and the attack came from within." Sankara crossed his arms. "Why me?" "You stripped me of everything. You exiled me." "That's exactly why," said Diallo. "If even one of the president's enemies is willing to protect him, then maybe we can find the real one." Sankara hesitated. He had every reason to walk away. But this wasn't just about old grudges. Poisoning a leader like this wasn't politics. It was treason. "Tell me what happened," he said. They explained the symptoms, the timing, the food. "You have full access to every file, every person," said Diallo. "You'll report directly to us," added Ouedraogo. "We want no media leaks." "I want to see the president," Sankara said. "Why?" Caboret asked sharply. "To study the symptoms. The more I understand, the quicker I can narrow down the poison and its source." Sankara entered the treatment room alone. The president lay pale and silent, connected to machines. The man who had destroyed Sankara's career now looked almost helpless. Sankara stood quietly beside the bed. "I never liked you," he said softly. "When you ruined my life, I wanted revenge. But not like this. I want to beat my enemies face to face, not poison them in the dark." He examined the medical records. The poison was designed to hurt, not kill. That was intentional. But why suddenly Traoré stirred? His eyes fluttered open, barely able to focus. "You," he whispered. "It was you." "No," Sankara said quickly. "I didn't poison you. I came to save you." "Why?" "Because whoever did this wants to destroy more than just you. They want to destroy this country, and I won't let that happen." Traoré closed his eyes again. Outside, Ouedraogo was waiting. "What did you learn?" he asked. "The poison is complicated," Sankara replied. "Someone with expert knowledge prepared it. This wasn't meant to kill. It was meant to send a message." "What kind of message?" "I need to find that out. But first, I need information on everyone in the palace. Staff, guards, waiters, everyone." Ouedraogo handed over a tablet. "We've compiled detailed profiles, 342 personnel in total." The east wing of the palace had already been turned into a temporary operations centre. Sankara sat at a large table, joined by 2 former intelligence officers, loyal allies who had never turned against him. "Let's begin with the food chain," he said. "How the food is grown, prepared, served, step by step." Alice Chef Bamana was called in. He looked nervous. "Relax," said Sankara. "We're not accusing you. Just tell us the process." "I've been in the palace for 14 years, Bamana said. "I served 3 presidents. Last night's meal was standard. Rice, fried chicken, vegetables. All ingredients come from the palace's private farm. Everything is screened." "And who served the food?" "A waiter named Suleiman. He's been here 8 years. Very reliable." "Who sat at the president's table?" "Interior Minister Cabaret, Economy Minister Koulibaly, Security Chief Ouedraogo, and Foreign Minister Zida." And of course the president. Sankara nodded. Find Suleiman. But Suleiman was gone. His home was empty. His phone disconnected. He disappeared after the dinner, said Ouedraogo. He's our prime suspect now. Should we arrest him? One of the agents asked, as they reviewed the footage. Sankara shook his head. That would be too simple. The waiter might be dead by now. Maybe he was just the one who delivered the poison. But we need the one who gave the order. Where do we start then? Asked an assistant. His family, friends. Who did he meet with recently? Did he suddenly start spending money? Buy a new phone, a car, any unusual bank activity? Sankara replied. The team moved quickly. At the waiter, Suleiman's house, nothing seemed unusual at first, but tucked away in a hidden spot in the bedroom, they found an envelope with 10,000 euros in cash. This is something, said Ouedraogo, Sankara's top security officer. But we still don't know who gave it to him, Sankara replied. Get me the security footage from the palace, every second from the past week. Hours passed in the palace's surveillance room. They traced Suleiman's every step. Then something caught Sankara's eye. Stop there! It was last Tuesday. Suleiman was seen in the palace's back garden speaking with someone, an advisor named Hamido Savadago, responsible for foreign affairs. Zoom in. The footage showed Savadago slipping an envelope to Suleiman. There's our money, Ouedraogo said. Maybe, Sankara said. But it doesn't prove he's behind the poisoning. Bring him in. Savadago was taken from his office. He looked calm in the interrogation room. What were you discussing with the waiter in the back garden? Sankara asked. Savadago looked confused. Oh, that. I just gave him some money. His mother was ill. I was trying to help.
10,000 euros is quite generous, Sankara said. Savadago didn't flinch. It's my money. I can do what I want with it. Of course, Sankara said, leaning in. But it's an interesting coincidence. He gets the money, then the present is poisoned, and now the waiter is missing. Savadago started to shift uncomfortably. I didn't poison anyone. I don't know where Suleiman is. Then how do you explain the 50,000 euros you withdrew from your overseas account 2 weeks ago? Sankara asked, showing him a document. Savadago's eyes widened. You checked my accounts? 3 hours ago, Sankara said. You also had a hotel booked in Paris. You were ready to run. Savadago stood up in a panic. I'm just a middleman, I swear. For who? Sankara asked calmly. I can't say. They'll kill me. Then listen carefully. If President Traoré dies, this is no longer an attempted crime. It becomes an assassination. You'll be the prime suspect. And in this country, that means life in prison or worse. Savadago hesitated. Then defeated, he spoke. An official from the French Foreign Ministry. His name is Pierre Dumont. I met him 2 months ago at a conference in Paris. He approached me, said we could work together. What kind of work? He wanted me to influence the president, keep him away from Russia and China, feed them information, prevent new alliances. He paid me 5,000 euros per month. Then, they asked for more. They told me to make Traoré sick, not to kill him, just enough to keep him out of power for a few weeks. Why? So the prime minister could temporarily take over, sign some deals, gold rights back to French mining firms, re-establish the military base, open up new economic agreements. And Suleiman? I gave him the poison. He slipped it into the food. He was paid too. Afterward, he was supposed to vanish, but I haven't heard from him since. Maybe they got rid of him. Later that night, Sankara met with Prime Minister Diallo, Security Chief Ouedraogo, and Interior Minister Kabore. So the French were behind this, Diallo muttered, trying to keep control of our policies. We've arrested Savadago, said Ouedraogo, and we're searching for Suleiman, added Kabore. He's not missing, Sankara said grimly. He's dead. They erased him. What do we do now? Diallo asked. Tell the public? Not yet, Sankara replied. First, we set a trap. I have a plan. The trap was simple but dangerous. Savadago would send Dumont a message claiming that Traoré's health had taken a turn for the worse, and that the Prime Minister was ready to move forward with the agreements. Dumont would come, secretly, and they would catch him red-handed. High risk, Kabor warned. If it works, Sankara said, we'll have undeniable proof of foreign interference, and Traoré's position will be stronger than ever. Meanwhile, President Traoré's condition was slowly improving. His eyes opened more often. He began to speak. On the third day, Sankara visited him as usual. How do you feel? Like I got run over by a truck, Traoré said weakly, but I'm alive. Who did this? Sankara explained everything. Savadogo, Suleiman, and Pierre Dumont. So the French still want to control us, Traoré murmured. They fear our independence. We have a plan, said Sankara. It involves lying about your condition, maybe even pretending you're dead. Do it, Traoré said firmly. We need to see who's trying to rule us from behind the curtain. The plan unfolded swiftly. The Ministry of Health announced that the president's health was critical. Hours later, a second statement declared he was on life support. Then came the final blow. State news agencies reported that Ibrahim Traoré had died. The capital erupted in mourning. People flooded the streets in grief and outrage. 2 days later, Pierre Dumont entered the country posing as an embassy assistant. He requested a private condolence meeting with the Prime Minister. A room was prepared. Diallo, Sankara, and 2 security officers waited. Dumont walked in, pretending to be solemn.
And part of an assassination plot. At that moment, a door opened. President Ibrahim Traoré walked in. He was pale, unsteady, but alive. Dumont stared in disbelief. This can't be. I'm stronger than you thought, Traoré said calmly, and so is Burkina Faso. Dumont was arrested. His identity and actions were exposed to the international press. France claimed he acted alone. No one believed it. Later, President Traoré addressed the nation. They tried to take our freedom, he said, but this has shown us that independence is a daily struggle. We must protect it at all costs. In a surprising move, Traoré appointed Sankara as his new national security advisor, the very man he had dismissed 3 years earlier. Why? Sankara asked privately. Why trust me now? You could have betrayed me, Traoré said. But you didn't. I know your anger at me is smaller than your love for this country. 6 months later, Burkina Faso had removed the French military base. Gold rights were restructured. The country was moving steadily toward full independence. One evening, standing on the palace balcony, Traoré turned to Sankara. You know, sometimes our greatest enemies can become our greatest allies, Sankara nodded. At least enemies are honest. Their intentions are clear. Exactly, said Traoré, and I was wrong to let you go. You had a different path but the same goal, our freedom. Sankara looked at the horizon. Maybe the poison was a kind of medicine, he said. Sometimes the only difference is the dose. Traoré smiled. And sometimes truth itself is poison. But it's the only cure we have. Side by side, 2 former rivals stood together, now united by the truth and a shared vision for a free Burkina Faso.